So that's why we rejected the loan guarantee option, just putting too much risk for the taxpayer, and instead came up with some of these proposals within the tax increment finance area to allow more flexibility. Senator Rest has been one of the key people in the state of Minnesota who has tried to make sure that tax increment financing is used as effectively and efficiently as possible without sort of bilking the taxpayers. So we wanted to make sure we didn't roll back some of the constraints that Senator Rest had built in tax increment financing in years past, and we wanted to keep that in place so there weren't giveaways going on. But we did want to provide flexibility to allow some projects to get moving quickly, and so we provided some flexibility for TIF rules, but what we said is you have to break ground by the middle of 2011. That's it, and it turns off. Because if this is for short-term gain, then get moving, because then it's turning off. And we've actually seen that's happening. We're surprised to learn how many places that is actually happening and projects are now moving forward. Okay, so in other short-term jobs, the historic credit. This is something that's been debated at the legislature for a long time. This could fit under the permanent job growth category as well, but this provides a lot of construction jobs. This really keys off the federal tax credit. The energy efficiency financing program, this was brought to us by business leaders. And what this was something that Minneapolis has done, where business leaders get together and say, we want to voluntarily be taxed extra for these sort of things we want. Help us change the rules so that we can get these developments going. And we passed that. And then again, some other TIF changes. Historic credit, more on that. This was really to leverage federal money. I think that's enough there. More there. In the interest of time, we won't go through it. This was the energy efficiency program that I mentioned. Again, this is a voluntary program. There was some confusion for a while at the legislature that some folks thought this was a new tax. It's not. The way this works is that you as the person who's going to do the debt here gets a better deal, because if everything falls through, you are paid ahead of the other lien holders if you're holding the bonds. It's backed in a more secure fashion. So in the tax increment finance area, which of course is very important to many businesses and many developers in the Minnesota economy, we did a number of things. The one where we're seeing the most movement right now is that first one, and that was to say, if you have excess increment laying around where you've collected the funds, but by state law we don't let you use it for much, and it's just sitting there, you can go spend it on a project, but you got to do it by July of 2011. And so that actually is one of the things that the Mall of America project is going forward with. So there's a lot going on in these different TIF districts. Honestly, I think some of them aren't going to work. I was willing to put them in. Senator Rest is nodding, just because I thought, okay, we'll give it a try. I don't think it'll even work, but that's part of figuring it out, is just letting people who are trying to convince you that something will work. I mean, sometimes you put it in, everyone finds out it doesn't work, and that kind of ends the discussion there. And so we'll see what happens with that. This was the thing I mentioned of the use of surplus increment, and these were, again, Senator Rest was part of changing the rules here and really protecting the taxpayers. That's what people have to understand about tax increment financing. It's a complicated thing that a lot of people aren't interested in, but the truth is property taxpayers are paying hidden taxes. That's what's going on in the system. So if you're not putting constraints around this, you've got a whole bunch of property taxes going on off the scrutiny of the truth in taxation hearings, off the scrutiny of the city officials. And I'm a former city council member. I understand it's really attractive because you get to leverage your whole county's tax base for your city. So who wouldn't do it? If you're Bloomington and you can just tax all of Hennepin County to build something, wow, what a great deal. And your voters don't even understand it or know what's going on. So it's very attractive, but it's not the best policies. And so reasonable people can disagree where the line should be drawn. But I really do want to thank Senator Rest for her work in this area over the years. More on TIF, and we can get into that if people want to. I think we'd rather get to questions. Tourism TIF, this is something that's going on in the state. Other legislators in greater Minnesota came forward and wanted it for their part of the state. I think some of this is actually driven by casinos, tribal casinos, and these become the job engines for these parts of the state, and they wanted to use a TIF vehicle that some parts of the state already have. This is one that falls in the category if I don't know if this will work, so we'll see. I've heard that around Rochester someone may try this one. And this is a new compact development TIF district to promote dense developments. And then we also went through and really looked at all the legislators' individual TIF projects they were carrying for their cities. And all legislators do these. You know, these are things you do for your city. Representative Depke carried hers for Wayzata. And we looked through them and we tried to find ones that were private entities, not, you know, building a new city hall or a new fire station, and ones that could get done quickly, that they had a developer, and we put those in the bill as well. And so a lot of those are off and rolling, they're shovel ready, and this was the get jobs quickly part. So here's some of them. The Mall of America, you can see, is in there. There's a lot of confusion as that's being reported on right now. A lot of media attention is focused on the congressional stimulus funds that were approved by Hennepin County. This is something different, and we'll see how the city of Bloomington determines they're going to use the pieces they were given. So here's more on that. We're providing more flexibility. This was a really important piece, honestly, for labor, the Mall of America, and the hospitality industry. And the key here is the property taxpayers were protected. There's been a lot of attempts to have property taxpayers continue to subsidize that development, and this ensured it did not happen. And instead, they were allowed to use their own taxes levied on liquor at the facility, lodging, et cetera, to do different things and provided flexibility. So that's it for me, and if I may, I'd just like to go to Mark Lofthus to talk a little bit about DEED and all the work they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann, and I'm very, very happy to talk to this chamber and the invitation from Chair Lenczewski to discuss the jobs bill. And there are a number of aspects of this besides the angel tax credit that I could talk about in the question and answer side, because there are a lot of tools that are available here. And let me just say at the outset that you may think that since I work for the government and I'm you know a bureaucrat in state government, that my goal is to try to create a lot of programs. That is not the case. It's not the case. We're trying to increase the programs and increase the breadth of our scope of our activity. Our goal is to be a catalyst in my division, to work with cities and with businesses to try to foster economic development. And if that is a catalyst, means providing information, providing assistance, that's great. If it means using these tools, that's fine too, but it's to try to foster job creation and development, and however we can do that. So the Angel Tax Credit Program is a tremendous opportunity for us, because before now, Minnesota has really been an island surrounded by states that have Angel Tax Credit programs. And I think there are some cases where we have lost companies that could have grown here, or we have just not had investment move forward. So now, as Chair Lenczewski said, we have a program that is probably the best in the country. In fact, somebody in North Dakota told one of the venture capital people here that they really admired the program we created and are thinking about some of its features, including the refundability element in their program, which has been a model for us in a lot of ways. So now we've kind of gone ahead of those other states. I'll tell you, I want to give you a quick update on the process and the metrics of our current program. We've developed a program after the session, and in July began accepting certification applications. It's really a two-part process. Businesses have to be certified to receive investment, and investors have to be certified to be involved in the program to get the credits. So when those, oh, sorry. All right. When both, yeah, we're going to just. No, that's right. Oh, there you go, Angel. Good. Good. So it's a two-part process, the certification and then the allocation of credits. We began in July to accept those certifications, and as of yesterday, we have certified 65 businesses who are eligible to receive investments under the program. And generally, you look at the list of these companies on our website, but generally I identified them in kind of the space of medical technology, biotech, energy, biomass. These are early stage companies that are developing new technologies. So 65 businesses certified. We have 47 individual investors who have been certified, and 3 funds that are also comprised of individual investors. Importantly, though, that's kind of the first part, the certification. The second part is the allocation of credits. And we have to date awarded $587,000 in approved credits for 5 businesses. And we have pending applications for 3 more in the total of around $300,000. So we allocated or are likely to allocate $900,000 by next week in credits. And as Chair Lenczewski said, this is a 25% tax credit, so if you kind of do the math, $900,000 in credits equals $3.6 million in early stage investment that's leveraged. In the interest of time here, let me just kind of give you some of the other highlights. There are, besides developing a new technology type of enterprise, these small businesses have to have several tests. They have to have 25 or fewer employees. They have to have 51% or more of their employees in payroll in Minnesota and be headquartered here. They have to be in operation less than 10 years, and they have to have received less than $2 million in equity prior to the certification. The maximum credit is $125,000 for an individual investor, $250,000 for a married couple filing jointly. And this refundability feature is really an important one. It allows an investor, perhaps somebody who's moved to Florida, who has a stake in Minnesota business and interest in our economy, wants to invest back into the state. If they have no Minnesota income tax liability, they can receive a full refund from the Department of Revenue for that credit. And I think that was also created in part because the chair of the tax committee has said a number of times, these things cost money. Let's pay for them. and that's a reflection of the fact that this is a cost to the state in creating these credits. But we do have an allocation through 2014 of a total of around $59 million in credits. Those are allocated out by year from 2010 through 14, 10 million this year and 11 million each of the next 4 years. If we do not use all those credits, they roll over into the next year and are available. But the program does sunset in 2014. We'll have an external evaluation done starting at the end of 2012 through 2013, so the legislature in 2014 will have data available to evaluate the program. And I think maybe in the interest of our time today, it's probably all I should say about the mechanics. I do want to mention too that we are working to this information is all on our website, positivelyminnesota.com, and you have a fact sheet I think that's been distributed. Angel credit is prominently displayed on that page. We're in the process of developing a small publication with our Small Business Assistance Office, also in conjunction with Michael Schley of the Larkin Hoffman Law Firm, a small publication that will make put all this program in more of a narrative context, help explain some of the fine points of the administration. That'll be a free publication and be online for us also. Jeff Nelson is our staff person working on the program, and Jeff is a fantastic resource and really working this program hard to make sure it's successful. And I might also say that we need your help to get the word out. There are other venues where we can talk about the program, small groups, individuals. I got cards here today. I'd like to take you up on, you take me up on that offer, and we'll also be at the collaborative event on October 14th at their Venture Finance Conference. DEET is a major sponsor of that event, and we'll be talking about the program there as well. So let's get the word out, and I do want to say one thing while I got the podium, if I can, about the role that we play. And I was talking to Senator Bonoff about this earlier. One of the ways that you grow an economy is working with existing businesses. You know, trying to attract business is great, and luring them from other places would be nice too, and that's always a tough game. But if you're working with existing companies, and first of all, I want to thank all of you for those of you who run businesses, for your work in the state, for your job creation. Without you, there wouldn't be the quality of state that we have. So I want to thank you for that, first of all. Second, I want to mention that on Sunday, I'm getting on a plane and flying to South Korea, and then later in the week to Japan. One of the companies you have in the TwinWest Chamber area is McCoy International, one of the major air conditioning manufacturers in the world. And actually, their parent company, Daikin, with their world markets, is the second largest air conditioning company manufacturer in the world, after Carrier. So we've been working with the people here in the Plymouth facility and also in Owatonna and Faribault, saying how can they grow that investment? So I'll be kind of intersecting the trade mission just on that one day, but working with the people at the Japanese headquarters and how they can expand their investment in Minnesota as they grow their business. And they want to be the world leader in air conditioning equipment. So there are a lot of ways to get there: tools, programs, resources, information, but being more aggressive and working with existing companies, how we can help their international investment grow here is something we like to accomplish. So thanks for your attention, and I'm happy to take questions too.
Does anyone have a question that they'd like to ask?